Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. I'm pleased to announce that we are now available on iTunes. If you go to the store and search for Sutton Podcast, you should find us from there and you can subscribe to be notified whenever a new episode is live. Joining me for a chat today is new Sutton fan Craig Nicholson and a new inductee to our Hall of Fame, Lennie Dennis. First of all, here's a song from Michael Armstrong and it's called
Well, I try hard to remember, but where do I begin? It's something deep inside you, it's underneath the skin. And I've tried my best to shake it, but it never goes away. She knows I might never make it, but she begs me to stay and turn her on when the DJ's got a song. Give me music from the rafters, give me songs and souvenirs. Give me dancing in the aisles, keep me smiling through these tears. Tell me we can be together, but it's not as it appears. Give me wall-to-wall vision, but the radio years made the man I wanna be. And I'm always right beside her, though she flirts with everyone, from Jackson to Sinatra and those kids at number one. And she's always a temptation, she never lets me down. If I wake up, she'll be willing to take me to town. Rock and roll, yeah, she's the devil in my soul. Give me music from the rafters, give me songs and souvenirs. Give me dancing in the aisles, keep me smiling through these tears. Tell me we can be together, I switch off, she disappears. Give me wall-to-wall vision, but the radio years made the man I wanna be. She appears. Give me wall-to-wall vision, but the radio years made the man I wanna be. Yeah, keep your high definition, 'cause the radio years made the man I wanna be.
That was the Radio Years from Michael Armstrong. For more information, please visit his website, which is www.michaelarmstrongmusic.co.uk, or as usual, the featured artists section of our website, www.suttonpodcast.co.uk. Now joining me is Craig Nicholson. He's a relative newcomer to the club. Hi, Craig. Please tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Mike. So like you say, I'm a new Sutton fan. I've been going to Sutton pretty much on and off for a couple of years now. I'm actually now a half-season ticket holder, so I sort of consider myself edging towards being a proper fan now, and I would definitely like to get a season ticket properly next season, so I think I will be renewing to take advantage of the offer. But to give a bit of background, I'm actually a Sheffield Wednesday fan, really. I used to live in Sheffield. I was up there for years, so season ticket holder up there for a long time. Moved down to London about 4 years ago now for work reasons, and obviously ever since I've been, trying to keep my eye on with football. Obviously, travelling up to Sheffield and back isn't ideal. A little bit expensive, and takes up a lot of your weekend doing that. So just tried to sort of take in some games. Obviously in London, there's plenty of choice, and came to weekends where there weren't football league games, international breaks, and I've got a few friends, and we sort of decided, let's start going to some non-league grounds. Let's see some football that we don't really see much of. Let's take in some non-league grounds, and one of the weekends it was my turn. So I just sort of looked at a map, really, put a pin in the map. Oh yeah, Sutton United, that'll do. Pop down and see them. It was actually a Sutton Common Rovers game. But a few of us went down there, and I just really liked the feel of the place. You know, it was a really friendly place. Seemed like a nice atmosphere. I think the thing that stuck with me was the fact you could just wander up the tunnel, turn right into the bar, have a drink, come back out, watch the rest of the game. It just really stuck with me. So that was 2015, and that was obviously, as it turned out, for Sutton United, it was a fantastic season. And obviously, I kept my eye on the team, went to a game, I think about a month after the Sutton Common Rovers game, and took that in and really enjoyed that. And then, as I said, kept an eye on the results and pretty much kept coming back from then on. And obviously, the way things have gone for Sutton ever since, it's been pretty hard not to get involved in the whole thing. And the way, you know, the crowds have risen, and the fact, you know, the promotion, a sort of decent season last season in the league, but also the amazing cup run, which, you know, caught the attention of the world. And then again this season, fantastic effort in the league, you know, to still be second in the league and in with a really good shout of winning the league. I imagine people who've been watching Sutton for, you know, decades must be pinching themselves. So I feel, you know, almost a bit of an imposter, really, but at the same time, really enjoying the fact that I've got involved at Sutton at probably the most exciting time the club's had for years, if ever. So yeah, that's a little introduction to how I got involved, really.
Excellent. I mean, you mentioned quite a few things there. Just one little thing. I have a very insular look on life. I tend to look at Sutton United's results, what's going on with Sutton, and I actually don't pay an awful lot of attention to what's going on elsewhere. Had you heard of Sutton before popping down?
I would say probably like most people, I'd heard of Sutton for one reason, and that was for the FA Cup shock against Coventry way back when. I think I was just about alive then. But that was the one thing I knew about Sutton. But I must admit, before I went, I didn't know where the ground was. I didn't know what league Sutton were in. So yeah, when I first went along, you know, I did my little basic research just to find out, you know, what's going on, what league are they in. But yeah, I must admit, until I sort of became semi-regular at Sutton, I couldn't have told you much at all about the club.
It is the exact kind of people that we've been trying to get to the ground. I mean, if you may or may not have heard, a few years ago, I think it was, I corrected AB on this, and I can't remember, about 4 or 5 years ago, our season ticket sales were 400. And it was small crowds we were playing in front of, all right for us, but relatively small crowds. And looking back now, you can think, well, my God, they're really small crowds. And now he's got a genuine hope for 2,000 season tickets due to similar people like yourself who have either moved into the area, not got a main club, or their main clubs up north or elsewhere, or a lot of people disillusioned with league football.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you do see that a lot. And, you know, you look at the ticket prices, that's been a big thing. I mean, I don't know whether Sutton fans will be familiar with what's going on at Sheffield Wednesday, but that's been a big thing about the prices that are being charged there at the moment. It's really kind of pricing out fans. People, like you say, getting disillusioned with just sort of kind of, you know, top flight, upper league football in general. And like I say, a lot of people are sort of going back and finding non-league clubs, going along and seeing, you know, a club like Sutton is the perfect example of a proper community club. Everyone makes you feel welcome from the very first time you go. You know, people say hello, people kind of recognise your face. You know, you go into the club afterwards and the players come in, and, you know, it's such a community feel to the place, and you just don't really get that in you know, the Championship, and obviously certainly not the Premier League these days. So yeah, there's just so much value in sort of going back to, you know, a club that actually does have its roots in the community, and, you know, really does what it can to make the community feel part of it.
I was going to just say that must seem really bizarre to someone who's never had it before, where you're sitting in the bar having a drink, and next thing the manager strolls through, the players stroll through, and you're just looking at them thinking, hang on a minute, you're not supposed to be in here.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, it's so strange. You know, you're trying to imagine that in, again, like I say, sort of Premier League Championship level. You can just sort of nudge someone on the shoulder and say, "Oh, you know, well played today." I think I actually remember the first Sutton game I went to. It was a 2-2 draw against Maidenhead, and Tom Bolarimwa had a fantastic game, and I think that stuck with me. And I seem to remember I tweeted him after the game and just said, "Oh, you know, came to watch Sutton today. You were fantastic." And I think he actually tweeted me back, sort of saying, "Oh, thanks, mate." And I just thought, you know, can you imagine doing that to a top flight footballer? They wouldn't even see your tweet, let alone acknowledge it. It's little things like that do, you know, it really impresses you and makes you think, oh yeah, you know, I want to take an interest in this club and I'm going to go back for sure.
Well, I've mentioned my nephew Josh a couple of times. He comes with me to games, or used to come with me to games. Little things like that with Doswell has done amazing for him, because just we went to one of the away games. He obviously recognised us at some point of coming down. He nodded hello, just said hello, pal, He is Josh's friend for life. That's it.
Fantastic.
He's loyal to Doswell. Doswell can do no wrong in his eyes just because he said, hello, pal. And he's brilliant at those little tiny things, just nodding to you, saying hello, making sure he might not recognise every single person. I'm sure he recognises lots of them, but he knows you know him. And it's those little details like have you noticed at the end of every match, win, lose or draw, every match comes over to thank everyone for being there. It's kind of part of the players' warm down to do that little half lap of thanking everyone.
Yeah.
It is a really good times for us. And as you say, the last 3 seasons have been just one on top of the other. It's all moulding into one just magical experience for me because, as you say, we've been through some dark times. Not as dark as some other clubs because we've always had a club, but it's just amazing at the moment.
Imagine a couple of seasons ago when Sutton were in the National South. If you could have told them now that a couple of years on they would have played Arsenal at the ground, and now they've reached a stage where they're actually having to consider the issue about the pitch because they might get promoted to the Football League. I mean, what a great problem to have. I mean, I know it's quite a controversial issue at the moment, but what an amazing position to be in that's even an issue that's being talked about.
Yeah, go back a couple of seasons. We were in the Ryman, or what's now the Bostik League. There was very real danger one season of Carshalton actually getting promotion to a division above us for the first time ever in history. Obviously, things have gone slightly different since then for both of us. But yeah, as you say, possibility of league football is just it's ridiculous. So we're in March, and there's the possibility still there. It's just absolutely mad. But on that, you're at a Solihull match. We expected it to be tough. Not sure we quite expected it to be quite so tough. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, I thought Dos was actually quite clever, and I think during the week he'd said something about don't see Solihull as a team that are in the bottom 4, even though they are. Look at the form, look at the players they brought in, and I think in a way, anyone who saw that will have actually taken notice and thought, yeah, hang on, our form's really good at the moment, and Solihull are in the bottom 4, but actually, if you look at it, this isn't going to be that easy. And the game itself did prove that way. It was a difficult game. It was a physical game, I think, to say the least, and it took a while to get the breakthrough. And another thing I love about Sutton is you don't get any sort of frustration from the fans or any sort of, oh, come on, they're only in the bottom 4, what's going on? The fans really stick behind the team, and the goal obviously did eventually come. Great time just before half time. Lovely worked goal, and I don't know whether many people noticed this, but I think actually Dos deserves a bit of credit for the goal because he shouted at Harry just before he took the corner, telling him that Kenny was lurking on the edge of the box, and he popped it back to him. Kenny got it in the box, and then what a fantastic finish by Tom Bolarimwa. So, but yeah, the rest of the game it was hard fought and couldn't quite get that second goal to make things comfortable. And second half was fraught to say the least. I mean, I've not been watching Sutton that long, but even I was biting my fingernails last 10 minutes. A few crosses came in and they had a couple of chances, but finally got through in the end. And yeah, what a massive 3 points. It doesn't matter what the scoreline is at this stage of the season. Just got to keep getting those wins and putting pressure on Macclesfield. So yeah, really impressive win.
I thought it was a little bit unfair when he said it wasn't a very exciting game, because it probably was quite exciting. Just it wasn't much quality, but it was exciting, especially if I suppose you weren't supporting either side. You were hooked on it.
So you certainly couldn't take your eye off the game. It may not have been a football feast, but there was certainly enough going on to keep your attention.
No, absolutely. And looking ahead, we're playing one of the very few teams, because obviously the way the playoffs have changed now, one of the few teams that almost got nothing left to play for. They're pretty much safe from relegation. They're not really anywhere near the playoffs. Maidstone away. What are your thoughts there? I mean, is it one that we should just, again, nice professional job, get rid of it and get it out of the way?
I mean, like you say, if they've got nothing to play for and they're in mid-table, then you'd like to think that would mean, Sutton are really up for it. Maidstone maybe take their eye off the ball a little bit. Maybe that will work in Sutton's advantage. And the fact, obviously, Sutton are on such great form, you'd have to say Sutton should go there and get the result. Obviously, it's going to be difficult. I suppose Maidstone's another one of the teams that have got a 3G pitch, so whether that sort of works in Sutton's favour slightly, the fact that they're familiar with the surface, so it's not going to cause many problems, I don't know. But yeah, I'd certainly back Sutton on current form to go down there and get a result and keep this pressure on Macclesfield.
Absolutely, and looking further ahead, just had a quick look through the remaining fixtures. We've got 9 games, including Maidstone, left. Some big ones jump out. We've got Bromley at home, which obviously is going to be a difficult one. We've then got Fylde, who are just on fire at the moment. And last 2 is Ebbsfleet, who obviously have a few things to talk to us about, and Aldershot. So even though we're ticking it off, there's 4 games in that remaining sort of 9 that are real difficult matches. I mean, they're all difficult, obviously, no easy games, but those 4, the teams are definitely going to be up against it for us.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just great, isn't it? Like you said, there's 9 games left. Sutton in a fantastic position. They've got some tough games to come up. And I did notice, I was looking at the fixtures a few weeks ago and I saw Aldershot on the final day. And I just thought, they're in amongst it. Wouldn't it be, could be an amazing game if promotion for one team, could be decided on that day, or if playoffs could get decided on that day. So, there's bound to be plenty of twists and turns and tough games, and plenty of history there with Ebbsfleet, for example. So that's certainly not going to be a guarantee. But no, it's gone so well for the season so far. I wouldn't expect Sutton to suddenly drop off and feel the pressure. I think everyone's enjoyed how well they've done so far, and I really expect this group of players will be focused and determined to finish as high as they possibly can, and see what happens in 9 games' time.
Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty strong characters in that changing room. I don't think anyone's going to be taking their eye off it anymore. I spoke to Nicky Bailey a few weeks ago, and he actually said the one team that they didn't want to finish above us was Macclesfield, because of what went on up there in the game. So I'm absolutely sure they're going to be 100% focused. But unfortunately, we're in a situation of it is a little bit out of our hands. Macclesfield do have the points on us, so we do need them to drop points elsewhere. But even so, wherever we finish now, pretty much, we've got the highest points tally we've ever had in the National League ever. And we're very likely to be finishing in the highest position we ever would have. So it's going to be a successful season no matter what happens. But my God, it's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said before, people that have been watching Sutton for decades must be, pinching themselves and thinking, what a fantastic season. No matter what happens between now and the end of the season, Sutton are going to finish the highest ever league position. They've had a brilliant season. And that with this manager and this bunch of players, whatever happens, they'll want to go better next season. So Sutton are in a very good position right now, that is for sure.
Absolutely, and exciting times, and it seems like you're our good luck charm if you've been coming since we've got the promotion that December when we started reigning in Ebbsfleet, and obviously the FA Cup run last year and this year. So make sure you keep coming.
That's it. My team ticket will be renewed, and let's hope that the good luck charm continues.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Craig, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks, I should imagine.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks once again, Craig, for your time. I really do appreciate it. It was very interesting for me to hear different viewpoints. Someone who's a newcomer to the club. It's nice to hear how we are welcoming, how people feel when they come along to us for the first time and encouraged to come back. So hopefully anyone who's listening who's thinking of coming on down, just come down, have a little chat with people. Try to avoid the miserable git standing on the little curved terrace to keep himself to himself. But I can be nice sometimes, but most of the other people in the ground are really, really nice. So come and say hi to them and come along and hopefully get a season ticket, push us up to that 2,000. So next up is a new single called Rise and Fall. It's by Blackwater Country. Please enjoy.
Listen here, tell me dear, what have you now got to fear? Took you long to realise, take it one day at a time. You've been wasting the minutes in the hours of your days. Look around and you'll find that it's just another way to kill some time for what you're worth. Cause you don't have long on this earth. So change your mind one more time, that it makes no sense at all. Just make a promise that you'll be the best you rise and fall. thing. We just take some suggestions, we follow the directions. The fact is plain to see that you're just the same as me. But one thing is for sure, when you're standing at my door, play the game listening, 'cause eventually we crawl. Make a promise that you'll be the best to rise and fall.
That was Rise and Fall, the new single by Blackwater Country. Their Facebook page is at Blackwater Country, or all their social media links will be on the blog post which will accompany this episode as usual. Their sound really reminds me of someone. I can't work out who it is. It's from a few years ago, but if anyone can put their finger on it, please drop me a line, let me know, because it is driving me nuts. So I really would appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. Now, whilst I was talking to my next guest, unfortunately, the phone signal was a little bit bad, and I was dancing around my room trying to get a better signal, standing on the chairs, trying to lie on the floor. It's a bit too starstruck to actually ask him to stop talking and move around himself. But unfortunately, when the audio came through, it was even worse than I thought it was. I have cleaned it up as much as possible. I do think it's worth listening to. I think it was a really, really good interview. So here he is. Now, joining me, my next guest, the brand new Hall of Famer, Lennie Dennis. How are you today, Lennie?
I'm all right, Mike. Thanks very much. That's a lovely introduction.
Did that come as a bit of a surprise?
Oh God, it was a bit of a shock because I've known Mark for quite a few years, and he's on my Facebook now. So I'm always ribbing him about, when am I going to get up there in lights and stuff like that, and he always just laughs and jokes it off. So I wasn't really expecting it because, you can just. I can reel off all the names and everything. A lot of guys who I thought would have been in front of me. Especially during the team, within the team I played for. You got Paul Rogers, Jonesy, Ron Farron. You got a lot of guys, Phil Dawson. Lots of guys who have been at the club from probably youth team football to turning pro, especially Paul. So I was a bit surprised that he wasn't on there, but I think he should be. If Mark's listening to this, next on there should be Paul Rogers. He was, I think when I turned up at the club, I came in as a forward, even though a lot of people wouldn't understand that. And Paul was playing up front. But then from the Bognor game, when I made my debut, Paul played in the hole, where later Mickey Cornwall decided to take that as his own sort of position. But that's where Paul was playing. And he just went on from strength to strength, and ended up with his best game. I think when he played against Middlesbrough, he was just totally ran the show in midfield, home and away. So, there's a lot of players over the years I've played with who should have, I think, gone in front of me.
Well, you could argue that you made Paul Rogers into the player he is, or he was. Yeah, you moved him back into midfield.
well, Paul was such a good player that he can adapt and play anywhere, and I actually think that position, just playing behind the front two, was his best, or maybe even just playing in front of that four. Because he's so fit, he could just get up and down all day. On top of being a good player, he was a nice guy as well. Sometimes get one of those, but not both. I can tell you about one of them names.
Well, I have to say that at the time, my sort of year I started supporting the club is actually the year after the Middlesbrough game. You two were my standout favourite players.
You got the check in the post.
Oh, thank you. I think my first few games, you must have went on this a nice reign of scoring, because I seem to remember you scoring in almost every game when I was a youngster. Obviously, I've seen the stats. You scored one in every 2 games, which is pretty damn decent. But I do seem to remember every game I come back from, you had scored. You've obviously mentioned some of the players, and I can see, as you say on your Facebook, you are really close to them still after all these years. There's a lot of little banter and a lot of nice comments between you, even before this Hall of Fame inductee.
Yeah.
There's lots and lots of things going on between you, which is I have to admit, it's quite amusing to me to sit there and I keep trying to explain to my Premier League supporting friends. I'll be like, oh, you don't understand that. That'd be like you seeing a conversation between Kerry Dixon and Pat Nevin. It's that kind of thing for me. It's just, so you get on with them after all these years. Do you ever see each other?
Yeah, I mean, as you're saying, it's quite funny. For most of the team, I mean, if you go through the team that I was really playing in for about 4 years, we had the same squad. So you've got going from the back, Robin Jones, who I'm still in touch, playing throughout the whole team. You know, Edgar Tiffy, Anthony Kuku, Tony Raines, Mickey Stevens, Mickey Cornwall, Stuart Hemsley, Paul Rogers when I see him around sometimes. You know, you've got these guys who, in the end, we were like a little family because we all stood up for each other. When the present Sutton team played the other day, and we all got together, it was like we were just meeting up for training night. You know, that we hadn't seen each other for years and years, but the banter was still there. The Mickey taking was still there. It was hilarious. It was really funny. So whenever we do meet, it's as if it's just like a group of mates getting on, and we can chat about everything. Some things not mainly football. We just talk about general life, and we still get on really well. Nigel Golly, Mark Golly, you know, all the guys really.
That's excellent. And I've mentioned to a few different people, I tend to only look at Sutton. I'm one of these weird people. I don't really follow too much football outside of Sutton. It does seem that there's always a really good relationship with former players. Everyone's really welcome back, likes coming back. Do you get that with your other clubs?
Well, yeah, it's quite funny. Probably the two clubs where I had a really good bond with players, and I'm still in touch with the players, will probably be Sutton and Welling. We had a similar dressing room at Welling when I've, you know, during my second spell in 91, 92, 93 season. It was a similar type of dressing room, you know. We had Mark there as well. Mark was there. Derek Brown. You know, we had a real good group of players, and it was a good bond. And it was similar to Sutton, really. But even going back to when I played in Sweden for a season, this was in '89. And all those years later, I've got about 5 or 6 of the guys on my Facebook, and we still chat. And I was only there for 6 months, but they're like, you know, they're such good friends, and I've just kept in touch with them, and they're, you know, because I found over the years, you can play with some players in the squad. You don't necessarily, they're not bosom buddies that you really want to talk for a drink with weekend. You're in the team to do a job with, and you just get on with it. You don't really socialise with them. But then there's some other guys who are the complete opposite, who, as I said before, you could go for a meal and not talk about football at all. You could talk about everything else, politics, and you could just talk without even talking about football and just get on really well. So I think people who I could really say are true friends who I've met through football could be over 20, 25. Who would be real friends who I could even say, okay, we go on holiday and blah blah blah. But then there are other people who you wouldn't classify as that, but you could play with them and get on really well and be successful. But then you have a drink in the bar and then you go home, you know, separate, and you don't even exchange numbers. But that's the same at work. You can look at the workplace the same as people that you don't really go for a drink with, but you just get on with because you've got to.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, sure, we'll discuss the Coventry match, one of the biggest games there ever was at the time. You shared the field there with one of my other absolute heroes, Cyril Regis.
Cyril Regis.
Yeah,
oh my God.
My claim to fame is he went to the same school I did about 15 years before me, but I'm still taking it. I don't care. He was a couple of years younger than my dad.
Yeah, I was just so nervous, not about the game. It was mainly about just trying to meet Cyril Regis because he was like an icon to me. As a black player, growing up, you know, within the sort of 70s and 80s, there's a lot of racism in football. And even when I went to Sutton, you were going to some places, I don't know what name, but people around that time who used to support us know the places. And there was a lot of racism coming from supporters, not necessarily players. Occasional player would try it, but I'd verbally reply to what he had to say. I won't go into details, and I could handle that if it was from another player. I'll just give it back.
Yeah.
But when it's from 7 and 8 year olds children, when you're walking along in the tunnel, going back from the warm up or coming out at half time, and you get little children. You know, there was one club, I won't name them, but they were contention for the conference title with us at one point, and the team begins to walk by. The base in Somerset, they had a really racist crowd at the time, but then I think it was Tony Jennings took over from Wilston, and all of a sudden half of their squad were black, and it was the funniest thing in football. I just could not stop laughing, and I was so looking forward to go and play there. And when I went there, I was waiting for a verbal attack as I came out to warm up. And the supporters, they couldn't say a word because I was in the black. I found that was one of the funniest things. Myself and Edgar on the TV, we couldn't stop laughing. We were killing ourselves in the warm up because they couldn't say anything. But the look on their face was pure hatred. So I just couldn't understand, because half of their team were black players and they were doing really well.
Well, yeah,
it just astounds me.
Yeah, I honestly never understood it. As I said, because he was at my school, that's why he was an idol to me. And it was only years and years later, when I sort of reading different things about him, that I even knew about some of this kind of stuff, because I grew up and like the Arsenal team with Paul Davis, Rocast, and all that. And it was only when I was reading one of their autobiographies that they were saying they looked up to him as he was a trailblazer. And I was like, but when I was watching football, it was normal. It wasn't an odd thing. But what was he like? Did you actually get to meet him?
I didn't even get to meet him.
Oh, no.
On the pitch, I had one. I've got the picture. I'm sort of standing next to him. I can't remember why I was in that position, but I was standing next to him, and I've got that picture. But then afterwards, I was desperate to see him in the bar, but they didn't want to hang around in the bar, and they just shot off early, and I didn't get to see him at all.
Oh no!
And I went home that night, and I was quite down. People going, "Oh, well done, Lennie." And I was like, "Yeah, what's wrong?" I didn't get to meet him, and I was desperate to meet him because I used to follow Palace when I was younger, but I always used to look out for West Nigeria, and always wanted to watch their games because it was him, Laurie Cunningham, and Matson, Remy Moses. You know, to actually perform at such a high level, despite getting all the grief that they were getting on the pitch, was phenomenal. You know, it really was good, and something that should be applauded is more now. I think, you know, when you look back and hear all the chanting, it's abysmal. Really is terrible.
Yeah, the world's changed dramatically. Obviously, anything like that you just wouldn't even be thought of. I mean, a video of some people chanting to Nathan Ashmore, the goalkeeper, about pineapple on your head. It's a haircut joke, but someone sort of very quickly said, "No, hang on a minute, that's not right." And these kids, they're kind of like, "Why? It's not racist." Well, actually, it can be taken. So it sort of jumped on quite quickly of, "No, this is how it can be taken. You need to understand how these things start." So I think the world has definitely moved on, and it's thanks to obviously players we mentioned, and you, like yourself as well, just doing what you did and changing people's opinions.
Well, that's it. You know,
So, on the Coventry match, you've obviously, for some reason, you mentioned you were down after it. I understand exactly what you mean. But that must have been an amazing moment, the weeks after it, and everyone's sort of attention on you.
No, it was the following week. We were coming back from the game because we went up north to play a game, and coming back, and there were these guys on there, and they kept staring at us. And one of the guys said to me, "You guys footballers?" So we said, we're not full-time, we're just 7-12. And he said, oh, I thought you were a big club like Southend United FC. And we were like, "No, we're Sutton United FC." And these guys were like, "Oh, right." And then they went, "Oh, so what league do you play in then?" And so we went from thinking, we've been recognised for beating. But they thought we were Southend United.
Well, it must please you to know that every up until very recently, every conversation of anyone that ever says, "Oh, who'd you support, Sutton?" "Oh, the team that beat Coventry." And it's like, yeah, that was 20 odd years ago. But yes.
I think it was made. I mean, I'm obviously going to be biased, but when you look at it, we were amateurs, well, semi-pro, totally semi-pro. We all had jobs, so we only trained Tuesdays and Thursdays for a couple of hours each night. So all the other nights we had to do our own thing. You know, I had to go for a run or go for a swim or go for the gym or anything. But we weren't full time. And also we actually beat a Premiership team who had previously won the cup the season before or the season before that.
Yeah, and I think they were third or something in the league at the time as well.
And they were third. So really, even though a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Lennie might just felt great because they got to the 5th round," I said, "Well, no, it isn't, because it depends on your draw. If you get a good draw, then you can go further." I mean, they did go further than us. So you can look at it that way and say, yeah, they were better because they went further. But then you could say, but did they beat a Premiership team? And they didn't. So there's two ways of looking at it. You know, I'm really pleased that they went that far, but also, you know, they didn't beat a Premiership team. And I know some people might have a go at me when I go back down to Gainesville Lane, but
no, I think the two.
We did.
Yeah, I think the two stand up as two brilliant, fantastic moments.
Both of them are brilliant. Both of them are brilliant.
I mean,
you know, you can't say one was better than the other.
No, totally different eras of football.
That's it. Totally different eras, totally different styles. So it's hard to compare it, really.
Yeah.
It is really hard to compare it, but I think we did better.
And after that, well, I was in tears at the Norwich match, but we'll skip over that one.
We were just, it's just weird because we turned out we were all sort of quite cocky and confident, even though it was away at Norwich. And I think Norwich were that 6th and 6th at that time. They were doing really well. But I remember Barry, his pretty much thought, he said to us, it's really good. Because Rosario is playing, and he's their best player, and he's not available, so we're going to win lots of headers. Nigel, I expect you to win all the headers. We're going to get all the knockdowns, midfield, and blah, blah, blah. And they put Fleck.
Yeah.
I think Fleck played, and Fleck was really hungry to play in the team. So I think he got 4 goals that day.
Yeah.
So afterwards, I think somebody said to Barry, I thought you said, that we do well, and Barry just started laughing because it was just one of those moments where you couldn't cry about it. We were totally outclassed. There was couldn't get close to them.
Yeah.
Could not get close to them all day. And I think I had one shot, which I screwed wide. I should have got the target. I think I was so shocked to get a little bit of space. I couldn't shot him, but I think he went to that next or something like that. But no, they were brilliant. We just hold their hands up and say, that there's a golf in class, complete golf in class. I didn't even watch it. I remember watching it. I could not watch it in 8 years. I watched that.
But you then went on to win an international cap.
Yeah, that was funny. The story behind that was I was at Sutton at the time, and I was doing quite well. I think I came 4th or 5th top goal scorer in the league, and I was doing well. And Tony, I think it was Tony James who was the manager at the time. I was scoring week in, week out. I was getting a few hat tricks. I think I got a hat trick against Bath in 2 weeks in a row, and I was scoring against some bigger teams as well. And I never once got call up. I was thinking, what's going on? You know, there were other players who were playing who weren't really scoring. They were scoring each week. Some of them were injured, and they were getting some of it. So I just thought, let me leave it until the end of the season. And there it goes. I was scoring, with me and Macca up front were doing well, was scoring, but a good run. Still nothing. So my uncle called up the Wigan Football Federation, and he said, blah, 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 my nephew plays for so-and-so, doing well, this league they're in, send someone to come and watch him. And he did. He sent someone over. I did quite well in the trials, but I didn't know that this guy was watching me. So he came to watch a few games, and I scored a few goals, and I got a letter from him inviting me over to play some games. So when I was there, And I remember when I landed, it roasted. It was about 11 in the morning. Just off the plane, I was dripping. And he took me to the hotel and he said, "Okay, I'll pick you up in 2 hours." And I thought, "Oh, that's great. We can get out for something." He said, "No, we're training." So, like, just got off the plane, like 10.5 hours. And it was roasting. And I thought, "Oh, I'm going to get some sleep and get some rest." Nope. So we went and played. The next day, we had a game against a top Jamaican team, and we won 3-0, and I scored 2. And we had another game against his touring team, and we won 1-0, and I scored. And so he said to me, "Right, I'm going to put you in for the USA game," which was the home leg of the qualifying rounds for the World Cup at that time, for the 1991, that started back in '88, qualifying rounds. So he put me in, and kickoff was just after midday in Kingston, and there were it was going to be live on TV. There was 26,000 in the National Stadium kickoff, during midday sort of thing, and I was absolutely shattered. The first half I came off, and I was tragic because I was really tired. I was getting involved in play and everything, but I just couldn't stop. I just felt really thin. So last time, I had to lie on the floor on my back with my legs up on the bench, so I could get some feeling back. I went out the second half. I had a snap try to hit the post, and came off 0-0. And Bass was sort of on at me, saying, "Oh, she was scored, blah blah blah. If it wasn't for him, we would have won 1-0, and blah 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 blah." And the guy defended me because he said, "Well, we didn't get any balls into him, we didn't get any crosses into him, we were defending a lot of the game and stuff like that." So the return game was in Missouri, and we went over there and we were training, and he was asking me to help out with the forwards by getting the balls. And they were shooting at the gap, and I was saying off, and he said, "No, you need to go behind and help out with the other guys." Who were the squad players. And I went, "Are you having a laugh?" I was talking to the coach, "Are you having a laugh?" I went, "What?" I said, "So why am I here if you want me to collect your balls?" I've been playing, scoring in the games, and we didn't win, but it was 0-0, and now you want me to collect. So anyway, I wasn't even on the bench, I think, because I spoke back to him. I wasn't on the bench for the game in Missouri, but we lost 5-1. And then in the newspaper, they still blamed me because they said Dennis should have been playing in those conditions, because it was raining and it was a bit chilly in Missouri at the time. It was buggy and it didn't suit our play. So Dennis was used to those conditions in England, would have been better. So anyway, next week they sacked the manager, and they went with the guy who was coached in Jamaica and everything, was a local guy. And he got rid of all the foreign-based players, me being one, 2 guys from Canada and 1 from America. They just didn't use any foreign players for about 10, 15 years until it came up, and so they started using more. No, sorry, it wasn't that long. It was a few years they came up.
Yeah.
For the next one, but yeah, and then we started looking at a few more English-based players because they got rid of that guy.
Yeah.
They got in a Brazilian guy who was really good, and he started looking at English-based players. He took on about 5 or 6, and then he was going to France as well, looking at nationalities players. And then Jamaican football was really good, really on the up. And then after that, they got rid of him, they sacked him, and it's gone back down again. There's a lot of corruption going on, and embezzlement and stuff like that, which is sad because there's a lot of really good players there. But it's just gone a bit pressure. But it was an experience. I loved it. I really, 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 really loved it. And it's a really good experience that I'll cherish. Really good.
And now, after football, you're a teacher?
Yeah. I went to Sweden, and the year after I did the Jamaica thing, I came back and I was a technician. I was a qualified technician, audio visual, which which is funny because basically I was fixing the old video recorders and OHPs and stuff like that. So whenever we used to travel away on the coach and the old VHS players used to pack up, and Bruce Elliott used to always bring these old VHS ones of Basil 14. Oh my God. I used to watch the same one every away game. It used to be Basil 14 or 101 best goals. Those are the only two VHS things I think we ever had. So we used to watch those all the way to Frickley and all the way back, Saturday within, just for the whole season. But whenever the video recorder, I could say, Lennie, come and sort this out, will you? And it was normally the leads that fell out in the back. But the year after Jamaica, I went to Sweden. I got there through Paul McKinnon because Macca was getting married that year and he couldn't go out, so he just asked whether I fancied it. And I went for a trial and they asked me over for the season. I loved it. Absolutely, really, really. A lot of people will say that I needed to work on my first touch, and I think my first touch was the best at that point because basically we were playing on AstroTurf, and you didn't have any other option but to try to have a fairly good first touch. So when I came back, people would say, someone like Lennie, you can actually control the ball now. Something happened. I came back and then I stayed in the same job for about 6 months. And then a friend of mine, Dave Goodwin, who's now helps at Newcastle, got me to sign up to teach training in 1990. It's the best thing that I've ever done. Really, really was good. I did a 4-year B.Ed Honours degree. Thankfully, I got through that. So now I teach. Initially, I was teaching secondary. Then I went on to do primary as a classroom teacher. So I was teaching everything. And now, for the past 4 years, I'm just PE in a school in Dulwich. I love, so I get to coach about 9 different sports. We do football, mini tennis, rugby, swimming, athletics, gymnastics, a whole lot. So I manage to coach everything, and it's really good. Really, really good. You get some really good little players, and it's good to sort of guide them along and say, do this or do that, don't do this, don't do that. There's some really good little players around. But yeah, that's been my story. But I mean, stories-wise, playing football, I could write a book for the different characters. I think the funniest. If somebody would say to me, who are the funniest players you played with? Paul Rogers got to be up there. They were crazy. The Paul Rogers, George Thornton, Stuart Massey, and who else? There's one other. They were like a little gang of them. You have to be very careful where you put your shoes. Be careful where you put your trainers. Because you come back after having a shower and all the clothes be gone. Where's my clothes gone? And they'll be running out the change room laughing or something like that. You have to look around see your clothes. And we came back from, I think it was, where was it? We went to Strictly away and we're pulling into the station and here about TV or Francis decided to have a nap, which is the worst thing you could do around Massey and George and all that lot. And they just covered his whole head with talcum powder. He was sleeping all this time, covered him completely with talcum powder. And as we went to get up, he just looked, he was just covered. All in his blazer, all in his hair, he went potty. And they just went off along Euston. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Well, I am going to wrap it up in a little bit, but I just want to double check. And is it true that there was one person in the ground that wasn't so pleased you got your Hall of Fame, and her eyes rolled to the back of the head because she's heard all these stories all her life?
Oh, probably Christine.
Oh no,
It
I
could
was thinking,
be.
I was thinking your daughter. Surely
Oh,
she's like, oh no, please
yeah.
don't give him validation of all this.
Oh, the thing is, ever since she was small, I've always said, oh, this is the day of favorite. She'll dance, she's like this, okay, then. But she's never really interested in football. I was actually football. She's never really interested. Her passion is dance, and she's really dance. She's at D&B Performing Arts College, and she's starting with agency and work. So she's really making me proud. She's been so well there. I tried to convert her to football, and when she was small, she said she used to like watching. I was like, oh, that was good, darling. Why's that? Oh, because I love the uniforms that they wear, the stockings. Because they're not uniforms, they're shit. And they're not stockings, they're socks. But she never really support her. Well, I didn't support her that much. With sort of past football things and stuff. She said that when she came on Saturdays, she really didn't realise how important the club is on science. She's so glad that she came along because she wasn't going to come along. But she's glad that she came along for her to actually understand what the club means to a lot of people. And I was explaining it to her and what a bond we have as players and as supporters and supporters. And she'd sit there and say, yes, sir, yes, sir. She didn't realise until she came down on Saturday how close the players were, the supporters and the board and everything. And as I said, it's a club that probably along with Welling at that time were similar. I think that's why I got on, and I probably played my best at Sutton and Welling. But it wasn't just that. It was, the two managers were similar as well, with Kevin Howes and Barry. They were similar types of managers. They weren't shouting and ranting and raving. If I had a good game, then they'd come up and tell you, oh, well done, Lennie, you did this right, you did that right. If I had a bad game, both of them would just come up to me, pull me to one side and say, well, you can do a lot better than that, Len, can't you? And just walk off. Barry had a way of saying that to me. He'd come up to me and just say, you think you played well? I'd be like, no, I didn't. He'd walk off. He wouldn't say anything else. But the way I would know that I had a good game, since I arrived at the club, when I first arrived at the club, I was in awe of all those players, Tony, John, Macca, all of those players. They were like the Man United of non-league football at that time. So to be asked to go there, I was in shock. I thought they got me mixed up with someone. And Barry would never give out praise. But a person to never give out praise to Larry would never, ever say anything. Even if I scored a goal, I'd go in the bar and I'd see him and he'd just turn away. Until one game, I think I did quite well in the game, and he actually said to me, well done. That was it. Didn't say anything else. If you get a well done from Larry, then you've done well, because he's such a good coach. His knowledge of the game is just unbelievable. So for someone like Larry to say well done, I think I slept that night. I was so pleased, because if someone of his stature from Sutton, somebody says well done, and Matt the same as well, Paul. If Paul said to me well done, then I know I've had a good game. So but I think I was. A lot of my time at Welling, maybe not the majority, but a lot of it, I was lucky to be in a team at that time that played to my strengths. I could have been in a team that didn't play to my strengths, which happened in my first spell at Welling, where the ball was just pumped in corners, and it didn't suit me at all, so I didn't really do well. But the second time I was there, it worked out, because I was with Ollie Mora, so we had a good understanding, but we play off each other. But I think the years I was at Sutton, where we got well, I just think I was lucky enough to be in a team that suited my style. And I was chatting about that to Tony the other day, on Saturday, and he said the same. He said that we were all in the right place at the right time, around players that sort of suited the way that we played. It worked out well. So we all clicked together. But maybe it was more than fortune, because we just all still get on really well, and that isn't really that common in a lot of football these days, or any form, any way of life. So I think we're quite lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were lucky to watch, and it's cost me quite a lot of money over the years since you lot had me hooked on it. So,
well, I'm sure if you have a chat with Tony, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm sure he won't mind.
I'll definitely try and do that. Well, I'm going to wrap it up there. Just congratulations again. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And
thanks for asking me to do this. It's really good.
You're more than welcome, Lennie. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. It was a real shame about the audio, slightly out of my control and definitely beyond my skill set to fix it once it had happened. Hopefully people persevered and thought it was well worth listening to. If you did, thank you very much. If you didn't, fully understand. I may use it as an excuse to get Lennie back on the show in the future, so he might want to add me to his block call list. In all seriousness, thank you very much to Lennie and Craig for their time. Really appreciated. Also, thank you to all the artists who allowed me to use their music in the show today. You can find out about them on the website, which is www.suttonpodcast.co.uk, and heading to the featured artist section, where indeed all the music from anyone who's ever featured on the show is on there in a list order. Final track for us today has actually been recommended to me by a Sutton fan, Marcus Franceskin. They're some friends of his. If you've got some friends who you want to help promote their single, or if indeed your own music, just drop me an email, which is suttonpodcast@gmail.com, or on Twitter, which is @suttonpodcast, and I'll try my best to include it in the show for you. These guys are called The Fun Die Young. Their Twitter account is @TheFunDieYoung. This is their single called The One. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, and I will see you at the Chester match. Good luck to the guys against Maidstone, and hopefully we'll get the thank you. Bye-bye.
Shell of what there was is left of abandonment and pure neglect. A blackened sun that never sets off. And oil spill in a solid sea, and a crashing on a hooker's knee. A reflection of a broken dream, my love. And a fork in the road. Breaking down